They didn't scream, they didn't fight, they simply vanished. One morning, a still forest stirred with strange silence. Birds chirped, winds whispered, but something was missing. The ants gone, their trails, usually alive with motion, were empty, and not a single one on the ground. The villagers noticed, and they ran. Hours later, the earth split. Long before modern sensors or seismic alerts, some of the oldest tribes survived disasters not by chance, but by noticing what the smallest creatures already knew. Ants, creatures often ignored. But their disappearance meant one thing: something massive was coming. In a remote jungle valley, elders used to say, when ants climb trees without food, don't ask questions, just leave. These weren't tales to scare children. These were memories carved from generations of survival. Because ants don't abandon their world for no reason. Their underground kingdoms stretch deep, and they feel the tremors long before any human can. In 2004, just hours before a tsunami devastated parts of Southeast Asia, wildlife trackers reported swarms of ants fleeing inland. In regions of India, entire colonies were seen escaping upward, not downward. At first it looked like chaos. Later, it was understood as precision. What were they sensing? Changes in soil vibrations, air pressure, sound frequencies below our hearing? Possibly all of it, possibly more. What matters is they always move first. This pattern has been witnessed across continents. In South America, ants leave the forest floor and crawl high up into tree bark days before landslides. In Africa, villagers recall times when ants built no new tunnels weeks before earthquakes. In Southeast Asia, monks once delayed a journey when they saw no ants during monsoon season. That decision saved their lives. But in our modern world, this knowledge is fading. We look down at screens, not at soil. We trust apps, not instincts. But those who still live close to nature remember and survive because pay attention to those tiny signs that most ignore. Ants don't speak, but their silence shouts for those who choose to see it. That warning can mean the difference between life and loss. Nature always leaves clues. The question is, do we even look? The hills were silent, kind of quiet that seemed to swallow sound whole. Maya stood at the edge of her rice paddy, the mud still clinging to her ankles from that morning's work. Her gaze, though, was far from the field. It was fixed on the distant hills, a landscape she'd known all her life. Yet today, it wore an unfamiliar stillness. The ant trails she'd seen yesterday were gone. This wasn't normal. Ants were as ingrained in the hillsides as the stubborn rocks. To see them retreat was like watching grass turn to desert. Her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. When ants abandon the ground might abandon you. Maya didn't know if it was just a saying, a superstition to scare children. But the fear in her grandmother's voice, the urgency in her eyes whenever she spoke of it, that was real. Hours crawled by, stillness stretched, taut and heavy. Then the earth rumbled. Not the familiar tremor of a passing truck, but a deep vibration that seemed to rise from the core of the earth itself. Fear turned to ice in her veins. She remembered the stories now, the tales of entire villages swallowed by the earth. Were they just myths? Or was her idyllic village about to become its next victim? As if summoned by her thoughts, the earth split open, not with a roar, but with a soundlessness that amplified the terror. Panic threatened to consume her, but she forced herself to move. She had to warn the others. The elders had spoken of this for years, yet no one had heeded their warnings. Now there was no time left. She raced through the village, her voice echoing in the sudden emptiness. Run, everyone run. In the distance, the hills kept crumbling. Deep within the Amazon, the emerald canopy pressed against the sky, hiding secrets older than time. Here, amidst the symphony of life, a subtle change was unfolding. A colony of leafcutter ants, a legion of millions, was preparing to abandon their home. For generations, they'd tunneled beneath the earth, their intricate network spreading like veins through the forest floor. They'd felt the shift first in the vibrations of the earth, then in the subtle change of air pressure. High above, the ants were oblivious. Days passed, then weeks. The ants grew restless. Sensing danger, they began their exodus, pouring out of their subterranean homes and scaling the trunks of ancient trees. It was a sight both eerie and mesmerizing. Leafcutter ants, normally confined to the shadows, were silhouetted against the setting sun, tens of thousands strong. Their exodus was noted by those who lived among the trees. The Yanomami tribe, with their bodies painted in the hues of the forest and adorned with feathers and beads, paused in their daily tasks. They watched the ants with a mixture of awe and understanding. The ants weren't just leaving, they were fleeing. Their chief, adorned with the feathers of a harpy eagle and a necklace of jaguar teeth, raised his hand, halting the huntsman's blow.
"Wait,"
he said, his voice a low rumble. The ants know what the mountain does not yet show. Indeed, the mountain was about to speak. Its voice wouldn't be thunderous. It would be a landslide, carrying with it the force of a waterfall and the weight of a collapsing empire. The Yanomamo, heeding the ants' silent warning, fled to the safety of the lower slopes. When the landslide struck, it roared with the fury of a wounded beast, carrying with it boulders and tons of earth. The site where their village once stood was now a chasm, a grave marked by trees stripped bare and hanging precariously over the void. The Yanomamo were safe, scattered but alive, forever marked by the day the ants went to the trees. Along the slopes of Mount Vesuvius, life hummed with the buzz of cicadas and the scent of ripening tomatoes. Villagers went about their daily chores, their laughter echoing in the warm air. The year was 79 AD, and Pompeii was basking in the glow of a perfect summer day. In the shadows of a nearby anthill, a colony of red driver ants stirred. They felt the tremors first, a subtle vibration that disturbed the dust beneath their feet. Then came the acrid smell of burning, carried on the wind from the smoldering slopes of Vesuvius. The ants, attuned to the rhythm of the earth and the whispers of the wind, knew danger lurked nearby. As if guided by an unseen hand, they began their ascent, clambering up the rough stone walls of the nearby buildings. In the town square, a group of soldiers laughed, their armor glinting in the afternoon sun. One of them, a seasoned veteran named Titus, noticed the ants. He pointed, amused. "Look at the little ones scampering away from the heat," he said, expecting nods of agreement. Instead, he saw concern etched on the faces of his fellow soldiers. They, too, had noticed the ants, remembering tales told by shepherds of how ants flee before the wrath of the gods. Was this their punishment? Titus, a man of the earth, practical and grounded, dismissed their fears. There was no punishment here, only ants seeking cooler ground, yet a seed of doubt had been planted. That evening, as darkness fell and the air grew heavy with ash, the people of Pompeii huddled in their homes. The earth trembled, not with the gentle pulse of daily life, but with the violence of a raging beast. Screams filled the night, echoing the agony of a dying city. When the sun rose again, it unveiled a scene of unimaginable devastation. Pompeii, once a thriving metropolis, was buried under a blanket of ash, a tomb of solidified lava. Among the ruins, the ants could be seen, their small bodies silhouetted against the gray expanse, a haunting reminder of the city's final moments. The survivors, forever marked by the tragedy, remembered the day the ants climbed the walls. Our world is full of signs, if only we could read them. The rustle of leaves, the song of birds, the very pulse of the earth beneath our feet. For centuries, we've been attuned to these signs, interpreting their subtle messages. But somewhere along the way, we've tuned out, replaced by the hum of technology and the glare of screens. We've traded the wisdom of ages for instant gratification, the whispers of nature for the noise of cities. Yet there are still those who listen, who hear the ant's silent call. So the next time you see a trail of ants, don't just step over it. Take a moment to observe them. Feel the earth beneath your feet, the wind on your skin. Remember, you're part of a much larger story, a narrative that began long before us and will continue long after. And who knows, maybe in the grand tapestry of life, you'll find your own signs, your own wisdom in the patterns of an ant colony. If you found this story powerful, thought-provoking, or just strangely beautiful, don't let it be forgotten. Subscribe to The Forgotten Path, like the video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep ancient wisdom alive before even the ants are gone.